Something just happened in Washington that may mark the most dangerous moment of Donald Trump's political life, and almost nobody fully understands the implications yet. What unfolded on the floor of the United States Senate today wasn't just another routine political disagreement. It was a visible fracture, a public distancing, and a signal that the protective wall around Donald Trump may finally be cracking. For years, Trump's survival has depended on one assumption, that no matter what happened, no matter the investigations, indictments, or scandals, the Republican Senate would hold the line. That assumption is now under serious threat. Today, senior Republican leadership did something they have spent nearly a decade avoiding. They stopped defending him. This wasn't a leaked report. It wasn't an anonymous source whispering to a reporter. It happened in public, on camera, and the language mattered. Instead of loyalty, we heard concern. Instead of defense, we heard distancing. Instead of protection, we heard warnings about legal exposure, institutional damage, and consequences. That shift alone explains why sources close to the White House are describing a president under extreme stress tonight. Here's why this moment matters. Donald Trump's power has never come from the law. It has come from political insulation. As long as Senate Republicans stood behind him, Trump could delay, obstruct, and survive. That Senate firewall discouraged prosecutors, slowed investigations, and reassured donors. Without it, everything changes. And today, for the first time, that firewall visibly weakened. Republican leaders did not explicitly declare Trump guilty, but they didn't need to. They cited mounting legal risks, ongoing investigations, and evidence they said they could no longer ignore. They referenced foreign entanglements, financial exposure, and the political fallout of domestic unrest. These were not accidental mentions. They were signals to voters, donors, and prosecutors that Trump is no longer untouchable. That is why panic is the right word. Because without Senate protection, Trump faces a completely different reality. The Department of Justice is no longer constrained by political backlash. State-level prosecutors, especially in New York, are no longer discouraged by fears of retaliation. Civil suits, asset seizures, and financial penalties suddenly become far more realistic. Power is perception, and that perception just took a hit on live television. There are also financial consequences that often get overlooked. Trump's political operation survives on the image of dominance. Donors invest in winners. They invest in influence. The moment a president looks isolated, donations dry up, and there are already signs that major financial backers are reassessing their exposure. This is not about loyalty, it's about survival. That's the part many people misunderstand about what happened today. This was not a moral awakening, it was a calculation. Republican leadership is reading the same polling data everyone else is. They're watching protests, legal filings, and court calendars. They're looking at potential indictments and asking themselves one question: how much longer can we afford to stand next to him? And more importantly, what happens to us if we do? The answer, increasingly, is risk. Several senators pointed to misuse of federal authority and controversial law enforcement actions that have become political liabilities. Issues that were once defended aggressively are now being described as mistakes or misjudgments. That change in language is not accidental. It is preparation. It is positioning. It is the early stage of separation. When politicians start rewriting the narrative, it means they expect the story to end badly, and Trump knows this. According to multiple reports, the White House is scrambling tonight. Calls are being placed, allies are being pressured, statements are being drafted and redrafted. But the silence from Capitol Hill is telling. The usual defenders are quiet. The rapid response surrogates are nowhere to be found. Isolation is the most dangerous condition for a political figure who relies on intimidation, and isolation is exactly what Trump appears to be facing. What triggered this shift? It wasn't one single event, it was accumulation. legal actions against close associates, financial investigations tightening, properties and accounts coming under scrutiny, and the growing realization within the Republican Party that defending Trump may soon mean defending criminal exposure. That's where fear enters the equation. Fear doesn't produce loyalty, it produces exits. This moment also reframes what happens next. With Senate leadership no longer offering unconditional support, impeachment is no longer symbolic, it becomes procedural. The question is no longer whether the votes exist, it's how the process unfolds. Does Trump attempt to negotiate? Does he escalate? Does he resign before formal conviction becomes unavoidable? Those decisions will shape the next 24 to 72 hours, but make no mistake, leverage has shifted. Trump's usual tactics, threats, loyalty tests, public humiliation, work only when people believe he still has power. Today weakened that belief, and once power perception breaks, it collapses fast. There's also an international dimension here that cannot be ignored. Senate leaders referenced intelligence concerns and foreign entanglements in ways they never have before. That alone suggests information exists that goes beyond public knowledge. Whether or not that information ever becomes public, the fact that lawmakers are reacting to it matters. It tells us they've seen enough. And that's the real danger for Trump. Because political exile often comes before legal consequences, but it always makes them easier. Once a leader becomes expendable, institutions stop protecting them. History is full of examples of powerful figures who believed they were untouchable until the moment the system stopped shielding them. Today looked like one of those moments. Still, it's important to stay grounded. This is not the end yet. Political systems move slowly. Trump is still president. He still has supporters. He still has resources. But the momentum has shifted, and momentum matters more than outrage. The coming days will answer key questions. Will more Republicans publicly distance themselves? Will donors pull funding? Will prosecutors move faster now that political cover is fading? Those answers will determine whether today was a warning or the beginning of a collapse. One thing is already clear, the era of unquestioned protection is over, and when a leader who demands absolute loyalty suddenly finds himself alone, the panic is not weakness, it's realism. Because without power, without insulation, and without allies, Donald Trump becomes what he has spent his entire career avoiding: accountable. The future is uncertain, but the signal was loud, and Washington heard it.